For more resources, visit rymonline.org.
The Local Youth Worker is a daily podcast that's centered on 5 questions each week. Ranging from the practical to the professional, we're looking for answers to the questions you're asking. Whether you're in full-time, part-time, or even volunteer youth ministry, this podcast is for you.
All right, everybody, we're back talking to Reverend Scott Byrd all this week. Scott, he's making me laugh. Okay, we talked about best things you've done in youth ministry, and today we're going to the other end of the spectrum, as I always say, and talking about some of your biggest mistakes in ministry. So, Scott, what have been some of your biggest mistakes?
Yeah, I think everybody has said this, but a lot of times you can think of a lot more mistakes than good things. But for me, some of the worst things have been really sins of the tongue, I think. I actually I preached my sermon for Presbytery on the sins of the tongue in James, and it was because several things had happened in the youth ministry that I'd gotten in trouble, for just saying and doing dumb things. But really, I think sarcasm is one that I just kind of haven't bridled my tongue, and so I'll say these kind of cutting, sarcastic things to students, and I forget how insecure a lot of students are, and really, that, like we talked about in the last one, that the church needs to be a safe place, and sarcasm does not create an environment of being safe and comfortable and open and vulnerable. So I think just saying things that don't really build trust, saying things thoughtlessly. There's a 8th grade girl one time that was, she's never going to listen to this, I don't think, but she was vegan. She was kind of going through this vegan phase, and it wasn't really out of any kind of moral conviction or anything like that. And so I was kind of picking with her about it, and I didn't think it was a big deal. And I kind of thought, if I'm picking with her, that means I like her and I'm trying to build a relationship. Yeah. And really, she didn't take it that way, and she took it as hurtful. And her dad actually called me and told me, hey, she's taking this pretty hard, and she doesn't want to come to youth group anymore, and stuff like that. So it was something that I hadn't even thought about. Like I hadn't thought about it since I had said it. Yeah. And so just saying little sarcastic, cutting remarks that, you don't know how that's going to affect her. And, James talks about how powerful words are, and, it can be, tongue is like a fire that can set a whole forest ablaze. One little spark can start a fire and really kind of destroy a youth ministry, if that happens. So,
and two things for that before were you about to move on?
No, go ahead.
One, just a comment is, that's so common. And I think in youth ministry, we try to get the students to like us. We try to make them laugh. We try to get them, have them accept us, which, talks about our insecurities as well. And so we can be very loose with our tongue and make the joke and, cross the line a little bit. And so, we've just got to be sensitive to that. And like you said, these students are very young and they don't have the life experience we have. And so some of our words are going to come across maybe harsher to them and more hurtful. And so the second thing was, how did you follow up with that student? Did you sit down and have a conversation? What was the process there?
Well, I asked the dad, I said, what do you think? Do I need to address this with her or what do you think I need to do? And he said, no. He said, I think that would just make it more awkward and more just a bigger deal than it really is if you actually had to sit down and talk with her about it. And he said just leave it alone, and I'm going to keep encouraging her to go to youth group. And so really what I just tried to do from that point on, I didn't address it, one-on-one with her, but I have been a whole lot more sensitive about that, and I've been a little bit more just I want to be more friendly with her and more open, and just kind of make sure that she knows that it is a safe place, and that I'm not gonna intentionally hurt her like that. And so that in that case, it was just kind of. But I have had times where I have gone to students and said, will you forgive me for what I said? That was really thoughtless and foolish, and will you forgive me? And that's really hard to do, to go to a student and ask their forgiveness.
Oh, absolutely. That's good.
So, so I think, sins of the tongue. I think another really, a thing that I regret doing or maybe not doing is when I first got to Christ Pres, not really building relationships with elders and even other staff. I just kind of came in and kind of started doing things that I didn't communicate real well, and didn't have a whole lot of trust built with the session. They just kind of, it was like they didn't really know me, didn't know who I was, and again, they're just kind of seeing me as this kid, I think, and so kind of came in, and we don't have relational capital with elders and staff. It can kind of be like they just don't trust you, or maybe just feels like that. But, that's something I wish I would have done early on. Is just go to lunch with some of the elders and just get to know them, and even maybe even share, my philosophy of ministry and experience and things like that. So that's one thing I regret not doing, and that's kind of that's kind of had some fallout because of that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's a good point of just the importance of taking time to build relationships and getting to know, others on staff and elders. I mean, that's a good thing to emphasize.
Yeah. And so, I think the last thing is I have the past 3 years, a lot of the youth ministry is just trying to see what works and what doesn't work, and adjusting. And I tried to force a lot of things that weren't really working, like a senior high guys Bible study. We have kind of a smaller group of senior high guys, and it just wasn't working. I kept trying to force it, and we'd have like 2 guys show up, and finally I just quit trying, and it's been so much better. The students don't feel guilty about not showing up, and I don't feel discouraged about them not coming. And kind of the same thing with the whole parenting seminar thing. We're going to try some different stuff with that, but it wasn't working, and I was trying to force it and getting frustrated with parents and people that weren't coming. And I think they were feeling guilty for not coming. So just tried to just figuring out what works and not trying to force those things that aren't working.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because it is sometimes we get in a rhythm of doing something and having something in our programs, and we don't even stop to think ever, should I just stop doing this or not? And we just kind of think, okay, this is on the calendar. We've been doing this for so long, and this has been a part of the ministry. And like you said, it was actually, counterproductive. It was creating frustration in you, guilt in the students, some tension there, and to just take a step back and, analyze what it is you're doing and thinking about it and thinking, is this something we should do away with, or, do something else different. That's good to think through that.
Yeah.
And I know this is kind of a plug for RYM Youth Leader Training. But I remember your soon-to-be senior pastor, Les Newsom, talking in a small group and just said, weeks like youth leader training are so vital in ministry, because you get to step away from the ministry and you get to think about it, and you really can't do that unless you remove yourself from the context that you're doing ministry in. So all that to say, just kind of emphasizing your point a little bit more, that it's healthy and good to step back and think through those things. So that's all good stuff. Scott, did you have anything else to add?
No, that's it.
All right. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, thank you.